A huge Category 5 hurricane is heading towards Jamaica. Hurricane Melissa is being recorded as the strongest of the year, and the Jamaican authorities have issued mandatory evacuation orders for large parts of the country. Earlier, storm chaser and meteorologist Matthew Capucci spoke to John Pienaar on the sense of the hurricane scale.
You know, the only even comparable thing we had was back in 1988 when Hurricane Gilbert hit as a high-end Category 3. This will be markedly more severe. And Gilbert killed 49 people, destroyed the banana crop, and damaged or destroyed about 100,000 homes. This will be way more severe than even that. Last night, I flew through the hurricane on a specially equipped NOAA Hurricane Hunters flight, and they encountered winds at that point to around 145 miles per hour. Melissa is even stronger at this point.
Well, joining us now on the latest is Dr. Jill Trepanier, who's a professor in hurricane climatology at the University of Louisiana. Good evening to you, Jill.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, just tell us the latest on what is happening with this hurricane. Where has it reached? When is it going to hit Jamaica?
Yes, so the storm is a Category 5 system. It is turning to that right, more northward trajectory as I speak, and will slowly move over the next 12 hours or so and then begin to pick up a little bit more pace. We're expecting landfall over the south coast of Jamaica and then, of course, the rest of the island over the course of the next 12 to 18 hours. Certainly, the conditions are rapidly deteriorating on the island. And many are without power already, and hopefully it will move over the island very quickly. But unfortunately, that high level intensity will be quite devastating, I fear.
Yeah, for people listening here in the UK who may not be familiar with what a Category 5 hurricane actually means, talk us through what that does indicate.
Yeah, absolutely. A Category 5 is related specifically to the wind intensity of the system. Tropical cyclones or hurricanes in the North Atlantic, when they reach a certain category or certain level of wind speed, they are based on this average sustained wind. But there are other characteristics that can be detrimental, such as storm surge, the wall of water that moves on shore as a storm makes landfall, and of course, rainfall. And in this storm, they're anticipating in some places up to 40 inches of rainfall, which I have to think about that in millimeters quickly, but quite too much. That's absolutely the case.
Yeah, that is. That's 3.5 feet deep, something like that. And I'm looking at reports of wind speeds of up to 175 miles an hour. Is that what you're expecting?
Yes, that's absolutely the case. So the fifth category in that scale maxes out at about 156 miles per hour. And the reason is because the vast majority of human-made structure will fail at that level, simply because we have not put enough resources into it. It'd be far too expensive. So the category that this system is of course still a Category 5, but is incredibly strong at the highest reaches of what we think of as the theoretical intensity limit for a storm like this.
And we know that some residents have already been ordered to leave parts of Jamaica. But I mean, if you're looking at something like this, and we're talking about it being quite slow moving, so presumably it could inflict a huge amount of damage.
Yes, that's exactly right. I think the longer a storm sits over one region, you're subjected to those characteristics for a far longer period of time, which can lead to even further compounded impacts. And let's, remember this is an island as well. So there's only so many places a person can evacuate to. You can't all ship the entire island population off on ships, as wonderful in an ideal world as that would be. So I think there are many that are hunkering down. They're trying to stay out of harm's way as best as possible. But the next 24 hours should reveal just, how that storm moves over the landscape.
It seems as though we're only hearing about this hurricane now. I mean, has there been much advance warning? Because with something like this, presumably it would have been better to have more time or give people more time to find a safe place.
Yes, absolutely. The problem with storms like this is this one formed or began very close to where it exists right now. So there was not a lot of warning. In fact, I was teaching my students about the very beginning of this storm just on Wednesday of last week. So it has been less than a week's time that it went from the very beginning of a disorganized thunderstorm to a raging Category 5 system. So the reality is sometimes the storms form so quickly that even the best predictive models cannot get ahead of it fast enough to warn such a large group, an important group of people.
And when you talk about a storm surge, that is presumably something like a tidal wave.
In a manner of speaking, though they are different. So in one instance, another word that often gets moved into this is tsunami, where you have some type of seismic or earthquake style landslide event that triggers a large movement of ocean water. In storm surges, what it is a storm moving over a broad expanse of ocean water. As the storm and the ocean move as one, there's an end to that, what I think of as ocean real estate. You begin to encounter the continental shelf, then that continental edge begins to push the wall of water upward. This water column goes upward toward the landscape.
And it sounds as though that could be devastating. I'm really sorry, but it's been great to speak to you. We're out of time. Dr. Jill Trepanier, thanks so much for joining us.